Hiya Tricia, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Thanks for
Good,
meeting
good.
with me today.
Thanks for talking to us. Really appreciate it. Now, Tricia, the Lighthouse Club. I put a post out last month on Trial Talk Plasterers Help Group,
Yeah,
just with a brief introduction to what the Lighthouse Club is,
yeah,
and some scary statistics in regards
yeah,
to construction workers that sadly are taking their own lives
yeah.
on quite a regular basis. Before we get stuck into the statistics and stuff like that, could you just talk to us about what the Lighthouse Club is and what it's all about?
Of course, no problem. So, Stu, the Lighthouse charity is a charity that looks after anybody that works within construction or any of the allied trades. We don't just look after the individual; it's anybody that works that lives within the household as well. So it could be it could be their partner, it could be their wives, it could be their children. So absolutely anything that I speak about today, the charity will support the household that possibly is struggling. The Lighthouse charity has been going since 1956, and it's gone from strength to strength, and sadly it's ever more needed now than it was back then. The support services that we've got have grown. Obviously I'll go into how we access them and what the support looks like. But anybody that's listening to this today, please, if you do work within those industries, then absolutely this is available. The support is available for you.
And particularly this time of year as well, Trish, isn't it?
Yeah,
The
so
worst time of year.
Christmas is a great time, but can be very triggering for some,
Yeah,
very isolating for some. Financial, there's a lot of financial burden on people. So, it's about what that looks like, the support looks like for people that are in those situations that are struggling. We're absolutely here. With the services are available all through over Christmas. So there's no break. The phone line is still on 24 hours a day, even on Christmas Day.
fantastic. I mentioned earlier about statistics. Why is it that two construction workers per day, I believe, were the stats? Two construction workers per day are taking their own lives. Why is that? What's
I,
happening?
I think there's a lot. I mean, we always get asked that question for why, and why is it construction? There's lots of reasons, to be honest with you. People spend a lot of time away from home. Um, Although it can be very rewarding with regards to financial pay, there are times when people are out of work if they're working for themselves. What does that look like if they're self-employed? What does that look like to their family? um, you know what happens if that person's injured? Who supports them? Who gets them back into work? Who supports them financially when they're not working? Construction's like I said, it's a very rewarding industry, but there are health and safety issues. If somebody has an accident at work, if they're working at heights, if they're it could be any number of things.
Yeah,
Drugs and
yeah,
alcohol is another thing. That's big within construction, and we do what we can to support people with regards to that. There is no judgment. We would absolutely, if somebody came to us wanting the support for that, we can provide that for them as well. And if you
yeah.
think if you've got somebody that has got a drugs and alcohol problem, they're on site, that's a health and safety hazard to the individual, to the people they're working for. So yeah, there's lots of things that contribute to loss of life. It's not
I'm
just one
thinking
particular
if
thing.
it's self-employment playing a part in this, the pressure and the financial pressure of being self-employed, and
Exactly.
predominantly I suppose it's males, isn't it, that are working still in the construction industry. And I think when you are self-employed, you do kind of develop this sort of Rambo attitude to work, where if your job's worth doing, I'll do it myself type of thing. And if there's a
Yeah.
problem, you pull your socks up and crack on. So I think speaking from guys that I've spoke to in personal experience, I think when us blokes do get wobbled,
Yeah.
we try to sort of you know, have a shoulders back and
Keep
crack
going.
on sort of attitude, but that
Yeah.
that can sometimes, pushing those feelings down and ignoring them can sometimes make them worse, can't it? If
Yeah,
you're not talking to
absolutely. And I
anybody.
think, you know, historically people have, you know, that mentality that you do suppress those thoughts, those feelings, you know, that you are, you know, it's this masculine sort of environment that people think that you are just to put a brave face on and keep going. But,
Yeah,
you know, if you're struggling mentally, physically, whatever it is that you're dealing with, then, you know, we're human after all. We need to address these things, as they spill out in other areas.
yeah. And there's a lot of injuries that happen, especially us plasterers. We
Yeah,
suffer with a lot of work-related injuries. So, for example, we might have tennis elbow, our rotor cuffs might be playing up, have
yeah,
bad backs, our wrists, our hands. And but obviously, being self-employed, we tend to pop a few ibuprofen and
and get
crack
on with
on,
it.
and we'll get to the stage where we can't actually work because we're in too much chronic pain. There's guys
Yeah,
that have had pins put in their arms and their joints. They're still plastering, they're still cracking on, and it's that belief that there's no help that out there if you're self-employed. So
yeah,
I think, you know, this lifeline that you guys have created is absolutely fantastic. So there's financial support and counselling support. Is that right?
hmm yeah. So we can help in a number of ways. There is absolutely like the emotional well-being. So if somebody's suffering, you know, mentally, if they're stressed, they're anxiety, you know, they've got anxiety, um, you know, if they're suicidal, you know, there's lots of ways that we can support that individual. They could have had a bereavement in the family. And the support that we give them is absolutely bespoke to what the person's going through.
Right.
It's not just sort of like one cap fits all. If they're struggling, you know, with a bereavement, they'd get different counselling to, you know, drugs and alcohol, you know, to stress, anxiety, whatever it is. We work with so many different organisations that can give them the support that they need in the correct way. Um, Obviously, we spoke about the physical aspect. You know, what does that look like to somebody, for example, like you said, that's self-employed, and they haven't got the ability to, you know, finance that when they're off sick, so they just continue. Um, you know, it's about, you know, looking at the support that we can give them. You know, if they are suffering with, you know, a major illness like cancer, um, there's so many different ways of, you know, helping them physically, mentally. Big one at the moment, obviously, is finance. You know, there's
Yeah.
a lot of people struggling at the moment financially, for lots of different reasons. But, you know, look at the energy bills, and, you know, the um, we're still trying to recover from COVID, and,
Yeah.
you know, what that's done to the industry. And, you know, with finance, there's many different ways that we can support the individual. Um,
When you say support the individuals financially, is it a case if you give them money, or do you do other things, like, for example, help them with their bills? And how does it work when you say you're able to help us financially? What does that involve?
Yeah, so there's lots of different ways that people sort of reach out to us. So absolutely, if they're behind with their bills, we don't ever give anybody money. And the reason we don't do that is if they are on any benefits, then that can add to their financial pressures.
Right.
If they're seen to be getting, you know, additional support. So if they are behind with their bills, we can bring their bills up to date. So, you know, the gas, electric, water, if they are behind with their rent, we'll bring that up to date for them. And then we'll work with that individual to ensure that they never go back to that place. So they'll get a caseworker, and then the caseworker will ensure that they do like budgeting exercises, debt management, so that the person, you know, doesn't become reliant on the charity. It's it's
Yeah.
it's it's about changing habits, changing ways to sort of, you know, make sure that they progress and they don't have to keep coming back to us.
Right.
The
So
biggest,
rather than just sort of say, here's £1,000
yeah,
and put a band-aid on the problem, you're trying to get to the root cause of why they're in that situation
100%,
and then
yeah.
help them through it. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And then the big one at the moment is food. People just can't put food on their tables. And if you can imagine, you're at home, you've got a family, can't feed the family, you know, what's the point? And then that sort of spirals from there. So we do things like an online shop for them. And it could be like Asda, Sainsbury's, whoever it is that they would generally go and shop with. And it wouldn't be just like a £40 shop, you know, just for essentials. It would be, you know, whatever they would normally get, apart from alcohol, in a weekly shop, or it could be a monthly shop. If they've got children, we'll provide nappies, baby milk, you know, anything that they need. If they're in school holidays, they need additional support around like lunches, food. If people have got religious requirements like halal meat. So it's not seen as charity, you know, they're not having to, you know, go out and actively go to like food banks or anything like that. You'd have the van pull up from Sainsbury's, Asda, you know, whoever it is, and would deliver it as if they've gone online and shopped themselves.
So it's completely discreet and private, I suppose. And
exactly that.
And that way, more people are likely to reach out, I suppose, if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, food banks do amazing things for people, but this way is just like you said, it's more discreet, and people will accept it better because it's not seen as charity. So going back to the food, there are incidents when people literally don't have food to put on their tables. So we'll do like an Uber Eats for them, so that they are, you know, that they are fed that night, so no one would ever struggle. You know, if it's immediate help that they need, we can provide that for them. And again, that support can be given to them over a week, 4 weeks, 6 months, you know, however long this individual needs this particular support from us financially, we will provide it for them. But like I said, we won't just provide it for them and not work with them to make sure they go, you know, that they're never back in that place. We will absolutely give them a caseworker. We'll look at their finances, look at their, you know, what's causing this, and then we will work with them for however long they need us to. It might not be that they need just financial support. It could be emotional, it could be physical and financial. You know, there's a lot of people.
If we going back to injuries again, let's say someone broke their arm, for example, and they can't work, would you guys then say put them in touch with people that could help them in that way, or you know, if they've got aches and strains, physical
we do like occupational help, and you know, aches and pains, obviously you can see from this slide. It's literally whatever it is they're struggling with. Like I said, we work with so many fantastic individuals and organisations.
Do you have to have sort of insurance in place for this, Tricia, or what's the criteria to?
No, so the only criteria is that you have to prove that you work within construction or one of the allied trades, and that you have no more than £6,000 in savings.
Okay.
It could be that you have like any white goods that are not working. You've got a washing machine, you've got kids, you can't wash their clothes. You know, we can replace things like that for you. It could be just that you're moving house, you want some advice around that, legal advice. And you know, everybody's different, so what I worry about might be very different, Stu, to what you worry about, you know, what somebody else worries about. So, you know, if they're worried about pensions or, you know, whatever it is, the thing is just to remember, just phone the phone line, and whatever support that is needed will be given, and that can be for however long that person needs that support for.
Is that the best way to get in touch? Just call you up?
Yeah, so we've got a number of ways to access the support. The main one is the confidential helpline that I touched on earlier. Now, it's completely confidential. If you were working for a business, you know, this never fed back to the business. It is non-judgmental. So if you're talking about topics like drugs and alcohol, or, you know, anything like that, then, you know, there's no judgment.
Yeah,
we understand that people struggle. and so we will help them whatever it is that they're dealing with. So this is the helpline number. I would suggest, if you've got mobile phones, you know, that you have for the business or anything like that, just pre-populate it with it, and then, you know, if anybody's struggling, you can just go, oh, here's that phone number. Or if you're struggling, or a family member, you know, if you've just always got that phone number in your pocket, you know,
That's
you never
absolutely,
know.
that's awesome. I can share this on the group as well and keep it up on files on the group so people can access that as well.
Yeah, just like, even if you put it, I don't know if you can tag it to the top of the group so that it's always there. You know, and people are just constantly reminded. You know, I put it on the bottom of my emails, and, you know, suggest that people do that. So every time it goes out internally, externally, like, people are always reminded that the help is there.
Sure.
So there's a phone number, but there's also a text service,
Okay.
because we understand that not everybody wants to pick up the phone. You know, they find it difficult to have that conversation. So
Absolutely,
we've introduced a text service, which means, again, if you text HARDHAT to that number there, 85258. Again, make a note of that. Again, as soon as they text that number, they would get through to a support worker, and they would get exactly the same support they would do if they were phoning the phone line. It's just another way to engage.
right.
You know, everybody's different, and everybody, you know, I know people that I could pick up the phone and speak to all day long, but then there's other people where, you know, we only ever text. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
So it's about recognizing that and letting people know that, you know, that
That would
there's
be a first way in, I suppose, wouldn't it, for a lot of guys
yeah,
and girls? Because, like you say, most are going to be reluctant to pick up and speak to a complete stranger about how they're feeling
absolutely.
inside,
Yeah,
especially blokes. So the fact that you can just drop a little text message, it might be that first, you know, touch point that you can
absolutely.
make.
And it's just like, you know, that relief of just like, right, I'm making this decision
Yeah,
and I'm going to reach out. And, you know, you get a lot of proud people that just, you know, there are times where they're embarrassed to speak out. And,
yeah,
you know, we want this to be a really safe space, so that people know that, you know, there's that whatever they discuss, you know, is completely confidential, non-judgmental, and, you know, we were absolutely there to support them.
I mean,
Um,
we've come a long way, haven't we, with this stigma around mental health? We've come a long,
Absolutely.
long way, especially the last few years. Do you feel enough's being done, or just do you feel that stigma is still there on site with guys?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think there is still the stigma. Um, but, you know, by doing things like this, by doing toolbox talks with people on site, you know, we're just trying to make, you know, mental health is visible. You know, like, it's not this hidden thing that, you know, we don't discuss anymore. You know, it's
Yeah,
quite the opposite. It's absolutely a topic that is real. It happens, you know, it happens daily. So we need to be talking about it. We need to let people know that there is no stigma.
yeah,
And, you know, if you work for a company and, you know, they use the services like this, it's about everybody knowing that everybody's buying into this. You know, and we're all doing what we can, working within this industry to, you know, break down that stigma. And, you know, that figure we spoke about, which always gets me, the two construction, you know, like, that figure's real, that happens. You know, we
yeah.
are losing two a day at least. So
Is that because they just? I imagine that they feel there's nothing out there. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing anyone can do.
yeah,
They're not aware of these kind of services and
yeah,
charities. And I suppose they're at the end of their rope, aren't they? Bless them.
yeah,
It's just,
exactly.
they are very shocking and sad statistics.
Yeah,
I wanted to talk to you about help inside the hard hat, Tricia.
yes, yes.
What's that all
So
about? How did it start out?
we've got a few things going on with that at the moment. Again, so this is predominantly talks that we give on site, so it's at that level. It's not in a boardroom, in sort of in the company boardroom. This is like people on the ground that are doing the jobs, within construction. And the three guys that are doing it, so we had these vans, and again, it's Make It Visible campaign. So it's about, mental health is there, let's talk about it, let's make it visible. So we've had these vans that have been kindly donated by Ford, and they are going around and doing tours on site. The three
Okay.
guys that are involved are all construction workers. They're all
Okay.
mental health first aid trained, but they've all had their own issues with regards to mental health.
Right.
And so basically they're going out, they're giving toolbox talks. They are really well received because they do the same jobs as these guys. People can relate to them. It's not just that tick box exercise where we're going to do this health and safety talk. Like, it's like these guys are like, I can relate to what you're doing, I do what you do, and I understand the perils of the job. I understand the stresses, the strains, the aches, the pains, like all of that. So basically they're going out giving toolbox talks. They're doing some fun and interactive stuff where they can win tools and all this kind of stuff, but they're also giving a really safe space for people to have an open conversation. And the tour has been massively successful. It's been
That is
running since
absolutely fantastic, isn't it? The fact that these builders have took it upon themselves to do that, and it's going to be so relatable for tradesmen.
100%.
With a fellow tradesman saying, "Look, mate, I've been in your shoes. I've got the T-shirt. I know how you're feeling, and there is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and I can show you how." And that's absolutely fantastic.
And it's exactly that. And the tour's been running since April, and we got an email the other day to say that they've actually saved 15 people's lives on site.
Wow.
So that's 15 people that like their families are going to be spending Christmas with them. They're not, that aren't going through like loss and sadness, and like it's unbelievable
amazing.
that
So they've turned up on site, had a chat.
They've had a
and these
chat, and
people have stepped
they've
forward and
recognised
said,
that and what they've done is then got them a crisis team, which is something we can arrange. They get them help within the hour.
Wow.
And they, like I said, they've managed to save 15 people's lives, from doing this. So I absolutely, if anybody is listening to this about the help inside the hard hat, please get involved. Go onto our website. It's all free. There's no cost attached to this, as are all of our services. There's no cost attached to reaching out on the phone line or anything like that. Register with us, and then what they'll do is when they're in your area, they'll let you know and they'll come to site. So we massively suggest that if you can, please get involved, because
I'll
just
put all these links in the comments, guys, as well. The links that Tricia's mentioned, I'll get them all in the comments below. If anyone's interested, just hit the links.
Exactly. We do like posters, help inside the hard hat posters, which just you can get them as hoardings for sites, and they come in all different languages. And it's about making it visible, putting this out there, putting these posters up. This is real, this is happening. This is reality, this is the number, get in touch. We do have on the phone line as well, if anybody doesn't speak English. We have people that interpreters online, on our helpline numbers as well, which please, because there's a lot of people that don't have English as their first language that are out on site. This is completely for them as well to access and use, and we can support them with with getting that help, and with an interpreter as well.
What I'm going to do, Trish, is I'm going to dedicate a section of my group to this organisation, and especially around this help inside the hard hat, because I think this is really going to resonate with the plasterers on the group. You know, given that they're within the trades themselves, and they might feel more comfortable, for example, speaking to these guys than they would, you know, anybody else, because they've walked in their shoes, like I say.
No, and like, you know, you can tap into this whenever you need to as well. You know, we've got so much resource, Stu, that like the charity is forever growing. And you know, there's all like this tour that's you know, this is new for this year. You know, like every year there's other ways and means of sort of tapping into to businesses, to individuals, you know, different ways of supporting families and people. So, you know,
I mean, what would be fantastic is to get these guys out to talk to us Trowel Talk lads, maybe.
Perfect.
And,
absolutely.
You know, create a meetup somewhere and just get involved and raise the awareness and educate everybody. It's got to be a positive thing, hasn't it?
Yeah, and we've got these. If you go onto our website as well, you can download like posters, you know, to put on the back of like toilet doors and private spaces. You know, there's those little help is here cards. You can buy them, put them in your wallet, put them in, you know, put them in reception areas, put them in your vans, wherever it is. You know, it just keeps reminding people that help is here, basically. And you know, we're here to support in many ways. We also have drop-in centres as well that people can access. We refer to these as lighthouse beacons. Now, if you go online and put your postcode in, that will bring up where these groups are within your area, what days, etc. You know, like we've said over and over today, not everyone wants to pick up the phone, not everyone wants to send a text message, but you might be somebody that wants to go and sit down and have a chat with somebody. It might just be that you're lonely, you just want to meet like-minded people. You know, the pandemic has changed a lot of people's habits with regard to socializing, so there are a lot of people that feel quite isolated now. So they can access the beacon service. It might be that they are suicidal and they need support straight away, and they can walk into these places. You know, it's about letting people know that you can walk in, you can pick up the phone, you can text somebody, you know, whatever it is that they need, in whatever capacity, whichever way they feel most confident, that the help can be accessed in these different ways.
Fantastic. I'm just reading your bullet points there, and one's jumping out at me: banter versus bullying. This is big on Trowel Talk, and it's probably one of the main reasons really that I put Trowel Talk together, because even online, I know this goes on a lot on site, but even online, grown men and women are being trolled and bullied and abused, really, and it was rife on a lot of other platforms, which is one of the, and we've tried to change the culture really on Trowel Talk. And we just don't tolerate it at all, because like you touched on, you just don't know where people are in their heads, do you?
And you just don't know, like, you know, when a joke is crossing the line, you know, what's funny to me might not be funny to you, because you don't know what's going on at home, or, you know, it could be lots of different things. It could just be that thing that tips somebody over the edge.
Exactly.
I know there's been an online bill passed for online safety, because there is so much of it goes on. That was passed the last couple of weeks. You know, it's being recognised that, you know, there's no policing of that online, is there? You know, people think they can do and say what they want.
We're sort of policing it ourselves, and to be honest, it's over the last 2 years we got to the stage now where it's bare minimum, because I think it's quite refreshing for people in the trade to come onto a platform where there isn't that any of this going on. But look, that's good to hear though, that they're starting to clamp down on it. Because if it's not closely managed and closely monitored, what starts off as a little, like you say, a little bit of banter or a little low blow, can soon sort of spiral into quite serious abuse. And I think when one person starts, it seems to attract all these other trolls.
Yeah.
And then they come in and they all start laying the
Yeah.
boot in, and it can get really, really toxic.
It can get really nasty, yeah. And again, it's about recognizing that and working together to go, do you know what, that's not acceptable, and that there has to be a consequence to that, because
Yeah.
when people are saying and doing what they want with no consequence, then it's just going to continue, isn't it? But if we all stand together and go, do you know what, that's actually not acceptable, so we are going to report you, we are going to delete you, we are going to block you, we're not going to let you have access to people that you are able to do this with. It's about taking a little bit of responsibility, all of us really around that. But this banter versus bullying is so we do a lot of masterclasses that are all free again on our website. Massive different topics that are available. Could be drugs and alcohol, financial matters. Banter versus bullying is a big one at the moment, and a lot of the sites are rolling that out and making like the staff it compulsory for people to do. So please access all of this online. It's all free to you if you go to our Lighthouse website under training. You can see that there's masterclasses that are all scheduled, and you can use them and as much as you need to. They're available to you.
And managing stress, I've just noticed that one. We all get stressed, don't we? Everybody gets stressed from time to time, and stress is part of life. And I suppose there's healthy amounts of stress, as we know. But when does stress, when it becomes chronic, how can we recognize that? Not in just ourselves, but how can we recognize when one of our mates might be suffering with their mental health, for example?
It's a really difficult one, because we've done a lot around. There's a lot of training around trying to recognize the signs and everything like that. But some of the people that you talk to, they're like, it's the life and soul of the party, and you wouldn't have thought anything was wrong with them. So it's really difficult to try and pinpoint, because
everyone handles it in their own way.
Absolutely. You could get people that maybe start skipping work a little bit. You could get people that might be wanting to be at work all the time. There's different, they're trying to escape something that they're dealing with at home, or they can't face coming to work because they're not mentally in a good place, or they've got issues at work. So it's really hard to say that there's one particular sign that you look for. I think it's just about, if you work with these people regularly, it might just be subtle changes
in their personality.
To them. And it's about there's a big thing about always ask twice, are you okay? But really, are you okay?
I listened to one of your radio interviews where one of your colleagues said exactly that. He said, look, when you ask your mate if he's all right, ask him twice, because the second time you ask him, you might get a different answer.
And it's just like, that is such a small, subtle thing to do, but that could make the difference to somebody. And what we always say to people, we're not trying to get people to fix people's problems, because that can put an enormous amount of stress on that person. We always say to people, just stop, listen, because listening is massive. If somebody's just got somebody to talk to, and then sort of say, go to the professionals, go to Lighthouse, go to them, they can support you. So we're not saying, get people to sit down and try and figure people's problems out, because that's not what we want, because then the onus is on them if it doesn't work out, know.
So it's about listening, a different way of listening, sort of non-judgmentally as well, isn't it? We've all got a tendency to say, oh, well, you should do this, you should do that, and just shake it off, and stop being so gloomy sort of attitude. It's not helpful, is it? So it's listening in the right way, I suppose, as well.
Absolutely. It's not a big thing to do, is it? To sit down and maybe just give somebody a little bit of your time. We're all very busy, we all lead really busy lives, but if somebody's just got a little bit of patience and can just spend a couple of minutes talking to someone, you don't know the difference that can make to somebody's life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it might give them the confidence to speak to a professional, like you say.
Yeah.
And once they start peeling back the layer of the onion, with a mate, they might think, okay, I've already unleashed this now. I might as well go and get it sorted, type of thing, rather than keeping it all locked up. And as I say, pushing it all down, which is the worst thing to do.
Absolutely. Just, if you can, just pick up the phone or send a text message or reach out to somebody, because you're never alone. There's no need for you to feel like you're alone, because there's so many people that care out there, and there's so many people that are, there to help and support individuals. We want to do everything we possibly can to support you.
This is why we wanted to get involved with you guys, because since starting the group, there has been a number of posts where I think people are coming on and reaching out, but obviously we're not qualified or in the best position to help these people, put them in, and point them in the right direction. So at least with a resource like the Lighthouse Club, we're able to say, look, mate, if things are weighing on you, then check these guys out, and they've got all these available resources at the press of a button to help. So it's going to be absolutely fantastic.
Just signpost them to us, just say, anybody that puts up anything that's struggling, just say, these are the people to talk to. They can help you, whatever it is you're struggling with. We've got, like I said, we've worked with so many amazing people that can help regardless of whatever it is that the person's dealing with.
Fantastic. So Tricia, how's the best way to stay in touch with yourselves? Have you got a website people can go to?
We've got in the link. If you go to lighthouse.org, there's so much resource on there. There's there's the training on there. There's the events if you wanted to get involved in any events. There's the posters that you can download. Obviously, there's the information about our support line on there. We just there's lots of different ways. But mainly if you are struggling, just pick up the phone or send us a text message, or go physically go into one of our beacons, and just know that the people there are going to give you the support that you need.
Fantastic. Well, Tricia, thank you so much for parting with your time today.
Thanks, Joe.
Really eye-opening, and I'm sure this is going to help so many people that are watching this video. So on behalf of myself and Trial Talk, I'd just like to say thank you very much, and I hope we can get you on again to talk soon, if that's all right. Brilliant, Stu. No, I really appreciate you having me on today, and like I said, just keep doing what you're doing. We need to spread the word. We need to keep talking about mental health. We need to keep talking about the support that's out there. The support line's there, and there's always another answer, and we can support you with whatever that looks like. Absolutely. Thanks so much, Tricia. Thanks, Joe. Speak to you soon. Bye now.